up, everyone? I'm Stu, the guy who hosts this podcast. So this is a pretty terrible intro. Let's start again. I'm Stuart P. Turner. This is the Flow State podcast. Hello, welcome. If you are listening for the first time, please ignore the start of that intro. If you are joining me again, welcome back. In a dramatic departure from the past few episodes, today I wanted to zoom into some research that we are producing. So me and the team are doing a bit of outreach at the moment. We're trying to chat to more people to sense check what we've found and see how things are going in their roles and within their companies. Today I just wanted to walk through just a few of the trends and I guess observations that have come out of our own research so far, because these are forming the basis of a lot of these conversations, which is obviously very interesting, and I am keen to hear more. So if you like how this sounds and you're like, look, I'm definitely seeing that, or I'm definitely not, I would love to hear from you as well. It's just me again today, so I'm going to keep it a little bit, sort of shorter and sweeter, and hopefully leave you with a few things just to consider following this session. So what we're putting together at the moment, and forgive my lack of official branding and formatting here, maybe I'll make myself a bit smaller, there we go, is putting together a bit of a white paper to summarize this research that we've been pulling together. Now, this is a mix of interviews with people, obviously AI-assisted desktop research, reviewing brands and research businesses that produce stuff that we read regularly, and just really combining all that with our own experience to see where the market is at within the specific area of B2B buying behaviour and how that's been changing over the past sort of 5 or 10 years. So what I wanted to run through today was some interesting things that have cropped up so far. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, so don't panic. I'm just going to call out a few of the key points which I think are interesting and kind of chime with my own experience. And as I say, I'd just love to hear whether you're seeing the same things. So number one, generational shifts in buying behaviour. Now, obviously that's not a new thing. The new thing we're seeing at the moment, though, is we're seeing a generational shift in terms of the age group of people who are now predominantly in decision-making roles within buying groups. And we're also seeing a crazy sort of paradigm shift in the types of technology we're using, obviously AI being the main one. So at the moment, this is an interesting stat, 71% of APAC buyers are apparently now under 45, who now bring consumer-grade expectations to purchasing in B2B. So I often speak about this both on this show and with people that I chat to. I came from a B2C background and I migrated over to B2B. Everybody who works in B2B, you, me, everyone else, is ultimately a consumer as well, and or first. And I think it's really a bit sort of underplayed, like the impact that our consumer experience has on how we buy in B2B. The traditional view of B2B is that we're all emotionless automatons that just, use the power of pure logic to make decisions, and we all actually get on together and have the same agendas in our buying groups. And I think we all know that is most definitely not the case. And particularly with people, of my generation and below now coming into these buying groups, the millennials, the cool guys, that's changing attitudes and behaviours significantly. So I thought this was particularly interesting, and this is an area that I'm keen to dig into more. So as I said, we're actively working on this, so don't judge. Interestingly, probably very unsurprisingly, 68% of people are using generative AI in vendor evaluations. Not surprising at all. Very efficient way to review stuff. As I have been talking about over and over again on this series and previous series, the danger here is the data that those AI tools are pulling in accurate? Are you getting screwed over because AI has scraped someone else's website better than yours? Like, these are real concerns if you are trying to sell to people in B2B. And you will have seen the wave of, how do we optimize for language models? Nobody really knows. The SEO industry's panicking. This is like a pretty serious issue, because if you go back to the Gartner research that we use a lot as well, through the majority of the sales journey, nobody wants to talk to you or your team. Like, that's the other real challenge, right? So people like me are doing this research. we're not speaking to you. We're finding the information we can find. And people increasingly, as you probably already know, are not coming to your website. They're just going to go to ChatGPT or Perplexity and be like, can you just research, outreach tools, give me the top 5 best. They don't, they're just taking what's being given to them as read. So this is a real challenge for how you go to market, how you structure all your content. Like, the tools and the channels that you guys are using, I'm not saying throw everything in the bin, obviously, but they need to be seriously reconsidered, is what I would say. And we're having a lot of conversations about this at the moment. The second, which is, I'm amazed that I'm still even having these conversations, is prioritises mobile first engagement. If you are surprised that people are using their mobile devices first, please go and get a job in another industry, because mobile first has been on the agenda for too long to even talk about at this point. If you're not mobile optimized, what are you even doing? Come on. And look, expect real-time responsiveness is the more important one. So where everybody at the moment, I feel, is missing a bit of a trick is, and I was ranting about this yesterday to one of my team, is ticket systems, slow response times from inquiries, everything's on email. Like, where are the real-time options to be engaged? And I don't mean just a crap AI chatbot on your website that can answer like 2 questions. I mean, how are we providing information from people to people rapidly and asynchronously when they need it? Because that, again, is another way that you can get your brand in front of people and deliver a really powerful, personalized experience for not much effort, to actually, as noted here, to compress buying cycles. Now, were I running a large corporate B2B, I would be investing a lot of time there in connecting my human team to my human prospects, instead of trying to automate that entire process and just delivering an incredibly subpar, poor, badly optimized, clearly AI driven, sort of layer between me and buyers. That's a complaint for another time. But look, those 3 things I thought were really interesting here. And I'm, as I mentioned, I'm having conversations about this now, and I'm keen to have more, because this is an area that we spend a lot of time focused on. It's an area that we all experience as B2B buyers or as consumers. And I think there's, it's ripe for improvement. There's so much stuff going on in this space at the moment. There's like, it's easy to get ahead of the game is the positive side of this. So, look, it's super interesting. And as noted here, where it's possible to do so, obviously it isn't always, younger buyers like myself and the other under 45s are bypassing formal RFPs and crowdsourcing opinions across professional networks and AI tools. So again, the dark web, dark social, where people are engaging in private groups more regularly, that is another key area to get into, right? That's where the influence is deployed, and where you can have a voice and deliver a positive brand experience. So it's really interesting stuff, basically. Moving on, the structural expansion of buying committees. Now, this all sounds quite boring. As I mentioned, this is a draft to be flow stated up properly. This is a terrible title. Stakeholder proliferation and role ambiguity. Now, what that means in normal people words is more and more stakeholders involved in buying groups. Now, I don't believe this figure, like 30 plus internal stakeholders, because that's obviously directly tied to the size of your business. I can believe the external influencers piece. And according to, I think this was a mix of some interviews and some AI driven desktop research, living the dream, and exactly supporting those points I was just making. But I know, for example, if you're dealing with a large corporate, like 5,000-10,000 plus people, there may well be 30 plus people involved in a decision, even peripherally. Now, interestingly, where this becomes a challenge, and we deal with this day to day, right, is role duplication is massive. Like, you might look at a company, and I was literally doing this last week, and that company might have like 10 marketing managers, right? And it's not really clear exactly what the delineation is between their different roles or remits necessarily. So do I try and, am I trying to pitch flow state to all of them? Do I just talk to one? Like, what do you do? It's the same with heads. It's the same with like VPs. Like, if a company's big, there will be many, many people that look like they have the same job. The danger for all of them and in a buying group is that they may have crossover in their remits, which is not helpful to us. Shadow committees, I don't know how much truth there is in this one or not, but unofficial advisors influencing decisions, shadowy back channel communications. I mean, look, it may well be happening. I don't know how much influence you can really have on that. I think if you've done a good job with your brand, that's not an issue, and you're very limited in terms of how you can address that. The other one I found quite good, though, don't like how it's characterized here, is temporal misalignment. So members across time zones delaying consensus building. Now, if you, like me, have been trying to sell stuff or market stuff to B2B brands, you will feel the burn of this, right? And I used to feel the burn of it even dealing with people in the same location, where you'll get in touch with one person. You'll be like, all right, great. This is my key decision maker. They're going to progress this decision forward. And they're like, oh, actually, hang on, sorry, I need to email Jeff, and he's actually on holiday this week. And you're like, right, fucking bloody Jeff, right, great, okay. They email him 2 weeks later, no response. You chase them both up. Jeff's back, he hasn't read anything. A week later, Jeff's done it. Then Jeff's like, oh, actually, no, we need to get Shirley and Tim involved as well. And you're like, right, bloody hell, who's Shirley, who's Tim, where are they? Tim's in another country now. Shirley's in, halfway around the world. They're both on holiday as well. Another 4 weeks goes past. So I don't think I need to lay that on too thick. You know what happens and you know how it works. So look, that obviously is a bigger challenge now. We're all sort of working more remotely and in a more connected fashion. And there's other ways that you can try and accelerate that by having a better view of your buying group up front and knowing who and how to engage at the outset. But I think in combination with these factors that we just talked about, this generational shift, it sort of dramatically compresses your window of influence, whilst also very unnecessarily stretching out the sort of time to a decision or to a sale. So there's various different things you can do to influence or increase your influence and optimize that process. But these two things combined, along with the role ambiguity, just make this job a lot harder. And no amount of additional tools can help there. I think they actually complicate matters, which is really interesting. So, I mean, look, as noted here, these diverging agendas force marketers to identify and address competing interests simultaneously. Now, again, that's not a new thing, but what I find interesting is that a lot of marketers and salespeople I talk to still face the same challenges, which is we have very, very broad motherhoody messaging up at the very top that does not address competing interests or even different agendas effectively. It just tells you very, very basic stuff. And then down at the bottom end, you got salespeople just plugging away, trying to get these deals progressed and qualify people and move things forward. And they don't necessarily even know all of these people or the broader buying group. So, the traditional challenges, I think, have just become worse as a result of what's been going on. So that was interesting. Cross-border hierarchy mapping, I'm not going to talk too much about because I don't think that's particularly interesting. I think that's just a given. But what I did want to talk about was these technological and data limitations, because this is where things are getting pretty tasty and getting even worse, right? So here we have fragmented MarTech ecosystems. Now, again, probably not surprising. What I found surprising was that apparently APAC organizations average 50 plus disconnected applications for customer engagement. Now, that causes problems you're all very familiar with, I'm sure: data silos, identity resolution failures, delays to insights, if you even get any insights at all. That all slows down your, time to market, time to sale. Like, it's just dragging horribly on your ability to go to market quickly and effectively. I would love to speak to people to see if this 50 plus applications figure is true, because I would say anecdotally, from the kind of companies I deal with, it easily could be. I think the ones under your direct control in marketing or in sales are probably a lot lower, but probably across the business that sounds about right, to be honest. So look, I'd love to dig into that. Again, this is something we talk about like a lot with our clients, and I find it fascinating how people just buy stuff and expect it to just work together, and then you just build this huge it's not really tech debt, but it's kind of similar, like, huge piles of technology that just doesn't work together. All it does is create loads more manual admin. You need more people to manage the tools. Your roadmaps to integrate things just drift endlessly into the future, and everyone sort of forgets that we should actually be using these things to make our lives easier. They shouldn't just become a job in and of themselves, and yet somehow they are. Big fans of less is more at Flow State. That's how we like to live wherever we can do. So look, this I thought fascinating, and I think this probably does chime with a lot of people. HubSpot analysis of Singaporean firms reveals 62% of buying intent data never reaches sales teams. Now, I can believe that from my conversations with salespeople, because I know that they always end up having to dig up their own information and do most of the job themselves. So that does not surprise me at all. I would love to hear if that is the case in your business. And look, finally, the last one I wanted to chat through was AI adoption gaps in stakeholder analysis specifically. So another interesting stat. 68% of buyers are using AI tools, but only 39% of APAC marketers leverage AI for buyer profiling. Now, I think that is because marketers probably know that a lot of the data is not very good. And again, going back to what I was saying before, I think we all know that there's a sort of hierarchy of data quality depending on the tools you use and your own due diligence. What I've seen from my many conversations in AI and using these tools ourselves is that it's very easy to extract what appears to be a large, very useful set of data very quickly. What is very hard to do is actually pan for the flakes of gold in the huge bucket of dirt that you have just captured. And my main concern, which I'm sure you will know from listening to previous shows, is that the current obsession with AI and its efficiency is that it just continues to make everybody focus on the tools and the process, and then the tools and the process become the job, instead of the job being how do we actually engage with these people that we're trying to meet or introduce ourselves to or sell stuff to, and how do we have a real conversation with them, not just make ourselves feel good because we've done a load of busy work and sent out a load of like crap digital engagement pieces and not progress them to something useful that, you know, actually has any mutual value. So, you know, these issues are very top of mind, I think, for everyone I speak to, like data quality. AI just pulls in whatever it pulls in, very little vetting or QA of the information because it's just getting scraped from everywhere. Privacy regulations are a massive concern. When GDPR first happened, I remember talking to everyone about like the implications of just buying data and firing marketing messages out, you know, still a big concern now. Skills shortages as well, like marketing and sales has become so fragmented and you have to be across so many different things that it's amazing you even have any time to do any real marketing or selling at the moment, because you just like, your job's essentially become, you know, like an engineer of various different tools, and you're constantly having to learn how to do the same things in different ways. It's just not efficient and it's not really very effective. So I think, like, again, I'm seeing those challenges in the conversations that I'm having, and I see them myself running Flow State. And I'm really keen to hear whether people are sort of seeing those things as well, and if that's resonating. So, look, I think the point here, as noted, is the result is a growing detection gap where AI's enhanced, allegedly, research outpaces marketers' identification capabilities. Now, I would actually characterize that the other way around. I would say that marketers' identification capabilities are completely fine, and so are salespeople's. I think that AI enhanced research is actually letting everyone down here, because it makes it look like we're doing better work when we are in fact not. We're doing the same work allegedly in a faster time, but the actual output is nowhere near the same kind of quality. So look, I don't want to ramble on too much today, because I wanted to just give a rapid fire flavor of where our current research is at. And as I mentioned, this is a draft, so this is an in progress document, which is why I'm disagreeing with half the stuff that we've written up in here, because it's, you know, it's live. We're having these conversations now. We're doing this research now. What I would love, as I mentioned, is let's chat. Are you seeing these things? What do you think about this? Does this sound like absolute rubbish? Are you nodding your head and thinking, man, I'm seeing that right now? Are you somewhere in between? I would love to speak to you. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. As I mentioned, my colleagues and I are reaching out to a few people at the moment, but if you'd like to chat to us, just give us a shout. Love to hear it. We're going to be publishing a version of this white paper, which will like summarize this research at some point later this year, when we're happy that we've got a decent body of interviews under our belt, and we've got a sort of good handle on what we've produced, and we've analysed it correctly. But look, I hope you found that interesting. I thought I'd just do a bit of a deep dive into some specifics for a change, instead of the broad conversations on AI that we've been having. Obviously, there's an AI layer here still. There always is now. And look, unfortunately, I still haven't come up with a good sign off. So still open to sign-offs, but I hope you found that interesting. Let me know if you'd like to chat. You can talk to me, you can talk to my colleague Ross, you can ping us at the Flow State socials. I look forward to hearing from you, and look, we'll keep you posted as we keep this research train rolling. I'll speak to you next time.